Start, Mr. President, do I, because of the cameras before me, because of the microphones before me, I probably must seek your indulgence to remain seated so that I will not say I temper with the voice. Ordinarily, we are humble people and we are brought up that way. Humility governs what we do and what we say. So please permit me to remain seated for their sake. Mr. President, before I start, I want to seek for two informations. How much time, Mr. President, do I have?
Well, not more than 20 minutes.
Mr. President, you raise very critical issues, and my happiness is the fact that I am in church. That is the greatest thing. I am in church. When the world becomes tough, run to the church and pray and air your views. Mr. President, we are speaking on behalf of Nigeria. So probably, as my responses goes, I may beg for, in line with the last prayers, the Vice Secretary said. Now, Mr. President, the Vice President, Deputy National Secretary, Deputy National Secretary, distinguished because of want of time, respected members of the High Table, I'm truly delighted, alongside my running mate and on behalf of my party, to be given this opportunity to speak in church, and I'm sure for the first time, with such an opportunity being offered to candidates. Because of the silliness, we were on a trip but returned early hours of the day and we have to be here. I thank God we came earlier than the candidates that we invited. Mr. President, my responses may be tough. And a son or a daughter of any country that refuses to speak up and only decides to now become a nagging person when the troubles engulf the state, that person, he or she, are problems to the state, problems to the people, and should be ashamed of him or herself to say that I am standing to fight for people, or I have knowledge that I failed to use because of fear. Let me start it this way. When Jesus was given birth to, Jesus spoke at birth. He died at 33. 600 years after Prophet Muhammad was given birth to, the sign of prophecy on him started at 33. He was given prophethood at the age of 41. All of them spoke. They were persecuted. They faced hardship, conveying God Almighty's message to mankind. That aside, Mr. President, if from all failed states from that time till now, about 1,444 years, all failed states in the world and in the history of mankind, irrespective of whichever part of the world it is, they fail simply because of a definition. Unfortunately, the Bible and the Quran and God Almighty will not want to hear. When ignorance becomes power in any given state, that set of generation have failed God, they have failed mankind. Second, if you decide to have it rosy all through, you should know that there is no pain. When there is no pain, there is no gain. In Nigeria, we all want to have it rosy from all seasons we have had. We have had actors who created a definition called for myself, of myself, by myself, to myself, exemplified greed that is lecturing the whole world. Now I start my responses. The sum totality of any governance, of any leadership provision in any part of the world, from the creation of Adam to date, to the modern one the President and the Vice President have spoken to, part 1 and 2. The total summary of what we have heard this morning are 6. Just like when you add the age of Jesus, 3 plus 3 gives you 6. The world is governed by 6. Till the end of time. North and south, west and east, up and down, nothing else. Every cycle of life is hanging around the 6 corners. And again, in leadership, the followings are what any leader must do sincerely to itself. But under any of the 6 I'm going to talk about are broken down into volumes and volumes of books, but I will summarize it as follows. Once you are entrusted with leadership, dignifying the woman from the little baby born now to the oldest in the country must enjoy her rights fully, irrespective of what sort of leadership that the country or a community enjoys. And it's in volumes of books. Second is empowering your youth, men and women, boys and girls. Empowering them true to itself. And that's why we agree with you when you talk about Chapter 4 of the Constitution. We saw it as a law meant for some and not meant for some. And I will explain later. Another is to secure your country at all costs. It doesn't matter whom you hurt at home or whom you hurt outside your country, but your country is given to you on earth to get it fully secured true to the provisions of the law. And when in any society, persons who are from 60, 62, and 100 and beyond are regarded as elders. Depending on the definition of that country, elders must be managed. Managed from welfare, security, health, and their ambitions, so that what they learned could now be seen to be passed to younger generations for them to remain guided. Number 5, at all costs and under any situation, the law's perceived heritage of a country and the core value of that country is a straightforward mission to elders, those in power, religious leaders, cultural leaders, and the security of that country. Mandatory, it must be restored to the people, to the country as a guide. It's missing in this constitutional, in this presidential system, and it is being killed every day. And number 6 is that that country, that leadership or that government must, there is no excuse, must join the international community's ambition in returning the country to the mainstream of the attainment of the following 4 things. 1, security of your country. When you are looking at the security elsewhere, work out advantages there to improve your own and safeguard your country and your people. Look at the dangers and take precautionary measures to protect your people. Second is economy. The economy of your country must be improved upon by the day from the happenings within the international community. The reverse is the case in Nigeria, and I will talk about it. And that is why, at this point in time, all I want to say with all sense of humility, and that's why my happiness is the fact that I'm talking in church. You don't need fragile leadership. You don't need a leadership that will compromise all of your country. And I'll talk about that later too. Second is the economy of state. Sorry, I think I'll talk about it. Third is diplomacy. International diplomacy, as it suits your friends or opponents around the world, must be a topic you should take advantage to and improve on your own. And lastly, the government and the country and the church and the mosque, any other religion in that country must, no excuse, synergize to make their country relevant at the international scene. with all sense of humility. That is a summary of what Mr. President has spoken to, and that is what Mr. Vice President has spoken to, part 1 and 2. And so it is globally. That is mandatory being looked for from any leadership. Now you have spoken quite a lot, and I wish other candidates are here. And I wish also this same type of program came before primaries. All potential aspirants would have full a larger environment for them to look into you and for them to know this is the demand of the church. Second, I would have loved you also synergize with other religions, Islam, free thinkers, any type of religion, they have right to. They should all come together to look at potential leaders of that country and ask them questions. Who are you? Where is Nigeria? What is expected of the next leader? What is the true state of Nigeria? There are two things here. State of Nigeria, true state of Nigeria, is a world apart. One is for deceit, to continue to deceive segments that are considered as stakeholders of Nigeria. And the other one is totally the truth that is always kept hidden. Now I start. Having talked to about the summary of what is expected of any leader. The second, from what you have spoken, and let me start from the speeches of Mr. C.A.N. President. Your speeches are rich, or is rich. Every sentence carried big meaning. But the total summary of what you talked about are solutions to Nigeria's problems, projected. Economy, Nigeria is in a reversal order. Nigeria, in her economy, let me start in a nutshell because I have a very little time from what I'm given. Dirty oil politics. Dirty oil politics international. Dirty oil politics domestic inside Nigeria. It started fully 1972. And one of our leaders, the most senior president or head of state of this country, who was brilliantly doing well, was staged out using his brothers from international community for his refusal to some certain proposals. And I want the church to dig it out. That's why some of us have total respect to the person of General Gowon. General Gowon, some of us are ready to give our blood in his defense. Because many people were deceived. Literature was worked out and sent out. He was removed out of ignorance, which became power in some people that did it. When out of humility he was sent to London, a former head of state of a rich country, Nigeria, was in with the poorest poor in London to take his meal. He is a Christian, but his character, his conduct, his sayings is that of a father of Nigeria. He is exceptionally humble. I call him embodiment of humility. We had to study him deliberately, some of us. And for a long time we have been keeping records. So in Nigeria, the church should understand this primarily. Personality data profiling of potential leaders, former leaders, youth leaders is mandatory. And I'm talking of all religious bodies, all religious leaders in the country must, so that we will not fall into the peoples of yesterday. The Vice President has spoken about history. There is again used in history in destroying Nigeria. The handpicking of the major events of yesterday from the beginning. The distortion started from 1957. There are some obvious facts taken out. Today, I speak 2022. When the journey started in 1999, they discovered the potentialities of this country, and as one of the 10 richest, I repeat, Nigeria is among the 10 richest in the world. But in 1972, when they cooked the coup that removed Gowon, it was conceived. I talked about it before. Numerous elders told me. We have spent time doing researches for the common good of humanity and for peace in Nigeria. But then when it started, numerous coups happened before, with stories created. Unfortunately, the church and the mosque were used before. The church didn't know, the mosque didn't know. Many of our episodes, the fault of the media, they didn't know. But the CEOs and their collaborators from outside Nigeria, who owned the media of Nigeria, even when it was not disprivatized, stories were created, conscripted to deal with particular individuals who refused to key in destroying Nigeria. That's why today, now that they know the world is becoming smaller, so they come to our country and do as follows. To the church, sons and daughters of the church, sons and daughters of the mosque, they buy them over. They study you. They maintain what is called personality data profile in your country, and they determine who to recruit. Unfortunately, there are many people in high places who are doing the total reverse of what they have sworn to do for Nigeria. They are recruited. What qualities do they look for? They look for fools. Fools in the sense that they have no idea of what to do with their country and what their limitations and do's and don'ts as a citizen and as a patriot of their country. The fools, literatures are sent to them. They read it and they believe it. Such persons are the characters they recruit every day. Second, they look for cowards, people who will collect money, and when they see signs of blackmail tomorrow, they will key in to continue to destroy Nigeria. And then we have had many, we are having many today destroying this country. Number three, they are looking for people who are naturally thieves. The tendencies of that kleptomaniac is what they look for. So once you bring them, you know you can send them to attack the treasury or the resources of the country for other people to destroy your country so that you will never grow. Number four, people with qualities of tyrants who can help inflict pains in your country and remain deceitful. Policies that are not working, that are anti-masses, anti-women, anti-children, meaning country should stay where it is. In accordance with the policy conceived by many parts of this world in 1972. And one of the first victims of that was General Gawan. And lastly, one of the qualities they look for are people with tyrannical attitude. They are ready to destroy for money. Such people are everywhere. I repeat, everywhere, all organs of government, they have found themselves there. What they do is to corrupt your country. And when money becomes the key to open doors, they give them the money, they open doors, they buy seats, wrong people in wrong places. Today, the church, I'm sure, is aware, people are buying seats in civil service. People get earned promotion almost in all patterns of the country. Then how can we expect service? You have people in the legislature who are every day either submitting information to embassies or to contractors or foreign contractors who trade with the information outside, and they give them free visas, free money, bringing their families to spend their holidays outside. It's going on. I'm being blunt because I'm in church. My Lord, in the speeches of the Vice President, the roles of the feudals is what I have given you in a nutshell. So from this put together, unless and of course the church, the mosque, and other religious bodies, no matter cultural or whatever their names are, must be a body. And it's part of our recommendation. From what I have seen in governance, in leadership, at a very, very tender age, at the age of 31, 32. From our investigations lately, it shows that Nigeria has come to a point where all causes of insurgency exist to high percentages. And there is no country that can have 1, 2, 3 and still be in peace. No country in the world from a scientific measurement. I became a student of this doctrine as far back as 1987 as a lieutenant in US. All allied countries gathered together in one class, plus Americans. And this became a study. And Nigeria was a case study. As at then, it shows that every single ingredient of insurgency, all the causes exist in Nigeria then. And what baffled America was the fact that there was peace in Nigeria. Before that, and in Shagari's government, it was predicted by the science or scientists in the laboratory of insurgency and terror in US, said, and I quote, Nigeria will soon break and it will be engulfed into religious crisis. And there is a potential mayhem in Africa, unquote. We were sent as students. This became a subject. And the worry is, what is keeping Nigeria in peace, despite the science formula? Nigeria from 1987 to today had predicted many times the break of Nigeria. Mr. President, this country is unique. To many people who believed that it was a mistake that controlled Nigeria, it was a mere map expression, a place called Nigeria, is fundamentally wrong. We have done careful studies. We know what we are talking about. This is the richest, this in Africa, this is the richest. But at the surface, many of the zones you have are the poorest. So to hit on what you are talking about and the potential danger facing Nigeria are as follows. I was in prison November 1st, 1999. Numerous security managers in Nigeria came to talk to me concerning the structures and modalities we enforced in maintaining peace in Nigeria. They wanted names of our former commanders and resilient soldiers and police and SSS who were battered, chained, framed, and kept away. They needed them back in 1999. I was 2 years in detention, called names as son of the devil. Propaganda was on. And I asked, you want me to give you the information like that? Put me here, I'm ready. But what is the essence of the propaganda ongoing and the torture method on me? And what do you want to do with them? Torture them like me? I said, I'm trying to protect, to guide and safeguard my subordinates. I refused, they returned. What were they looking for? They wanted those we trained in Nigeria and outside Nigeria to form a team to protect VIPs, not to protect Boko Haram. That is total disservice. If you are a leader, you should drive yourself alone free. If you are a leader, you don't need security. If you are a leader, you should go to the market, which is to say, doing good in conduct and exemplifying it and in saying it, and what is expected of any leader and at all levels. From all these little things I have said, look at Nigeria. What do you have? Unfortunately, ignorance is power again. Most of the leaders that you see move about, I do sit on my own to look at the length of convoys they use. I don't bother about the number of vehicles, but I'm bothered because they don't know, they are driven by ignorance. The longer the convoy as a show off, the greater the risk in the VIP. They don't know. And you have insurgency, and you have terrorists, some trained. Some are praying for longer convoys. And the fact that they have not started attacking long convoys, it doesn't mean it will not come if measures are not taken. So which is to say, the security agencies manning them, the executive person who is being pompous or trying to show off that I'm bigger than what you can think, are endangering themselves. If a president of a country will say, the longer my convoy, or his vice president, the longer and the better and the more pompous and the more strong I am, this means that the president is either out of ignorance, trying to endanger himself to change the course of history of his country, which is unacceptable, according to any law. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Help me clap for Mr. President for saving me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let me rush up, sir. If 2023 must be realistic, the church, the mosque, and all religions should stand against any form of rigging, technical rigging, direct rigging, moral rigging, religious rigging. You must go against this four at all costs. And people should be mobilized to know this and to know that it is their right. That is in Nigeria, the last right of the last man. Even talking of chapter 4 of our constitution, that to me is unacceptable because the law serves some and goes against some. So today there is choice into what happens on the right of mankind. In Nigeria, chapter 4 may be right, but it's faulty. Qualities we must look for in leaders that must emerge, and the church must toll followers all across. The mosque should be talked to equally create a similar session to know that qualities you must look for, and you must be very, very prudent in doing so. First is the ability of the person or persons to be elected. Once you find anything wrong with his ability, then the person cannot kickstart. The bravery, meaning taking decisions as you suggested in your speech, is that he must be brave enough to take laws, to take unpopular bills to the legislature, to tell the world and to tell Nigerians, this is good for you. You may not see it today, but definitely from the trend and the way the world is going, this is what we require now. 3 is the courage, the calmness, the confidence, the coolness, and the articulation in him to be able to now deliver and protect people. He must be fair in his sayings and actions. In his conduct, he must be exemplary. He must have fair knowledge of the country and the country's problems. For example, it took Mr. President and the Vice President time to produce these documents. With all sense of humility, I think we are working together. To us, we spent 5 years, 8 months trying to know Nigeria. In Nigeria, outside Nigeria. That person must have the zeal of the youth, meaning youthfulness in him. He must have the high IQ and the understanding and the knowledge of Nigeria's history, current problems, and the future that is coming. The versatility in him to relate to all classes of Nigerians, and numerous more. Mr. President, there are deliberate cliques working against the church and the mosque, working against governments, working against institutions. They have succeeded so far, and I'm coming back to something called dirty oil politics in Nigeria. When lately, some young, vibrant patriots, alongside with one particular TV house, discovered an outlet, an indication of oil theft in Nigeria, they were jubilating. But to me, it is a sign that is extremely disturbing. Stealing Nigeria's oil started far back, early 70s. Deliberately empowering friends from outside first, who do come to Nigeria with threats. And that is why, in summary, is that in Nigeria today, no single institution is working. Because when the honey was tested in the mouths of those clique, as small as they were then, they realized that they can do a lot more elsewhere. And I will touch only 2 examples or 3 examples on the issue of greed and stealing Nigeria's resources, I would guarantee that peace will never end in Nigeria. A challenge to the church, a challenge to the mosque. One, Plateau State. In the 70s, the solid mineral resources discovered in Plateau State brought about numerous white companies, legally or illegally, mining legally or illegally. They were feeding many countries. But the old Plateau and the present Plateau, minus the budgets we have seen that worked, one may say this rich, peaceful state, peaceful as it was, if you can sit down and quantify infrastructural development from the years, time and space and the resources spent, it's a sorry sight. It's most unfortunate. Second, Borno State. Some of us became privileged in 1995 when a certain synergy was formed between Libya and a private company in Germany, with the participation fractional of German government. The leadership of Libya then, Gaddafi, issued a contract to discover content and spread of uranium in Nigeria. In the process, they discovered many things in Nigeria. 1995. By 1996, part of the results that were ready was played to some Nigerian government then, and in Nigeria, I was privileged to have been sent among those. They discovered in a one portion between Borno, Niger, and Chad, leading to Lake Chad, a concentration of rare stones. And then at that point, I had no idea of what rare stone was all about. My knowledge stopped at diamond, being the most precious. I didn't know. Rare stone is few on earth. And so it cost more than anything in life. That gave birth to Boko Haram in November 1999. Nobody will tell you this. Every security agency or agencies will be afraid to tell you. I'm talking on behalf of this country, and I'm talking on behalf of younger generations. And I'm telling you boldly, Mr. President, we must take strange steps because Nigeria is at an unusual situation. Only unusual approach, only unusual leadership, only unusual exchange of information or intelligence and data that will unite us to know that we have a common concerted front. The unity of this country is a fundamental threat. Mr. President, Boko Haram dealt with the church. It dealt with the mosque. They slaughtered old people, men and women, pregnant people. The records between 1999 November till this moment cannot be told easily. The records are incomplete. It affected everybody in Nigeria. The sanity of the country, economy of the country, security of the country. But today I want to, Mr. President, I'm not looking for answers. But think of this, please, as a church and as a leader. Today in Borno State, in Maiduguri to be precise, and I'm happy our leader from Borno is here. How come, with all that has been inflicted on Nigeria, people decided with the connivance of the institutions in Nigeria who are already failed, by bringing in people under the guise of NGOs in Borno? It's not easy to get a house to rent in Borno. You can say wrong. Anything I say wrong, please flag up. You can't. And they hire houses 10 years, 15 years, 18 years from the records we have. What are they planning to do for 18 years in Borno? Borno, at the surface, within the international intelligence community, they say, they have this description. Borno is a no-go area. It's classified insurgency heavy point in Nigeria. Why are the NGOs coming? At odd hours, what are the NGOs doing in the bush where Boko Haram are heavy and situated? The area between Boko Haram and outside is mined. heavily mined. How did these NGOs know their roots in and roots out, that is safe? What is the relationship between Boko Haram and the NGOs? At the surface, NGOs are giving medicine to the poorest poor. Most of the medication they give them are poisons. We have substance. That's why I want the world, minors talking in church, I want the world to challenge me. They give capsules, inside it are either powder or sand or drugs. That's why the disease is rising from medical point of view, and my happiness is the fact that my running mate is a medical doctor. We run around, get data, decipher it, and keep all for this country. Why do they have kidney and liver problems? He can tell you. Why the strange diseases? Why cancer? This game started when? The depopulation game is happening here. Who is talking about it? Is the church protecting? Today, let me tell you this, you may not believe me, but investigate. The most precious stone there was in today's market, as at last week, Wednesday, when we checked last, is $27 million, $27.1 million, Wednesday last week. That is precious stone. Today you say your country is poor. What the NGOs are doing is exchange of this. They fly in, fly out, throw thousands of naira to poor agents, to poor ignorant people. That's why I said ignorance is power in Nigeria. That's why we cannot be. But no elite. I have just dropped elite. Finally, Kaduna State. What is bringing insecurity in Kaduna State? Rhodium and lithium. All the 19 northern states have lithium. In the south, there are 6 states with lithium. The richest man on earth recently visited Nigeria to see a way of investing in lithium because they are using satellite to know what is kept where around the world. And for the information of the church, Nigeria, in most cases where it becomes a critic for what God Almighty has endowed Nigeria with, Nigeria is identified with codes called 360 plus. That's the name of Nigeria. Meaning all the raw materials, raw materials are in Nigeria, plus oil and gas in the largest quantity. Our gas reserve is 3.176 trillion cubic metric tons. You have not touched it. Your government is borrowing money. Look at the budget for 2023. Any person who becomes president of Nigeria is going to get that. That's his budget. But the budget, whosoever rely on that, lacks the capacity to create wealth in Nigeria, to create wealth from outside Nigeria. Mr. President, Nigeria will be involved in a disaster that the church cannot manage, the mosque cannot manage. I know I'm running against time. If only I had had the knowledge that we're going to talk this, I would have also summarized my own. But I make it here. I am here without knowing what to talk about. That's why I was making some jottings. Mr. President, finally, let it be known that even if me talking, I start with myself, have my shadow next to me to be entrusted with leadership. But so long the shadow does not have the qualities to preside and provide leadership to Nigeria, my shadow is a misfit. So scrutinize, save this country in the name of God Almighty. I thank you for the opportunity.